Welcome into Texans Today, everybody. I'm your host, Jeremy Chuggs, and coming up on today's show, top 10 guys. My 10 guys I think the Houston Texans could draft at pick 42, their first selection in the 2024 NFL Draft after trading that first-round pick to the Vikings, and they traded that pick to get Stephon Diggs. You know the whole story. You've been following. You're obviously subscribed to the channel. You know what's going on. So I'll break down 10 guys the Texans could take at pick 42. But before we get going, I want to hear from you folks at home. A lot of Nick Caserio love being spread around the Texans streets. So I want to hear from you folks right now. Right now, your confidence level in the Texans front office during this draft. Do you think they'll make the right moves? Do you think they'll make the right picks? Do you think they'll nail it and hit a home run, get it out of the park on all of their selections? If so, give me a 10 down in the comment section. If you're a little worried, if you think, I don't know how this team's going to be able to draft. They don't have a first-round pick. They still have some holes at corner and linebacker. Will they be able to get them filled? If you don't think so, type your ones. If you think you're confident that they're going to get some really good players, type your 10s. I think I'll see a lot of 10s down in the comment section. Let's get started on possible options at pick 42. My first one, TJ Tampa, and especially with these first names, you might see a little bit of a theme going on. First off, let's talk about TJ Tampa, somebody the Texans have looked into this through this draft process. 6'2", 200 pounds from Iowa State. A longer, lankier corner, 44 tackles, 2 interceptions, 7 pass breakups last year for the Cyclones. The Texans, they need a cornerback. He could be one option at pick 42. Same with Ennis Rakestraw Jr. from the University of Missouri. Another cornerback, another lankier, long corner, has a pretty good wingspan from Mizzou. Another guy the Texans have met with multiple times. Another guy who could be there at 42 and very well could be the pick at pick 42 for the Houston Texans. 35 tackles, no interceptions last year for the Tigers, but 4 pass breakups. A really good option. Athletic guy from Mizzou. Next up, this is kind of split some people, but I'm going to go with Sainristil. I still love the talent that he has there at pick 42 if he's on the board. I know what people are going to say. Yes, he's more of a slot guy. He's more of a nickel option for the Texans if they were to take him at pick 42. And you're like, hey, we already have Desmond King. Why do we need Sainristil? I get it. And it says 5'10", pretty generous. I would say it's probably like 5'9", 5'9 and a half. But he did have 6 interceptions, 6 pass breakups, and was on the best defense last year, arguably in college football with the Michigan Wolverines, the national champions. If he's there, he's a absolute baller. And you'd find me hard-pressed not to take a guy like Sainristil, where I know he's going to translate at the next level. Even though it's not a top need, the Texans still need an outside corner, I think he could be an option there at pick 42. And another guy who could be an option there at pick 42, Kamari Lassiter. And I am sick and tired of hearing everybody pointing to, oh my God, Lassiter ran a 4.5 whatever at the NFL Combine, or he's not the fastest guy at the NFL Combine. Slow your roll. He is still an amazing cornerback prospect. Even though he doesn't run a 4.4, I mean, we've seen plenty of guys who run in the 4.2s at cornerback who end up stinking at the next level. I think Lassiter, even though he doesn't have that top-end speed that you want out of a cornerback 1, he doesn't need to be your cornerback 1. He's your cornerback 2. I still think he's a good option on the outside. Really good instincts. Came from another great program in Georgia, was part of that national championship squad a year ago. So another good option, if you ask me, at cornerback. But those are my 4 corners I could see the Texans taking at pick 42. There's definitely more that could be named. Maybe some, low-key guys like a Max Melton or whatnot. But out of these 4 guys, if you had to draft one, if Nick Caserio was looking at you and saying, hey, all 4 are on the board, who are we taking? Who would you take? If it's TJ Tampa type TT, Ennis Rakestraw type ER, Mike Sainristil type MS, or if it's Kamari Lassiter type KL down in the comment section, let me know. Who would you draft? Next up, I'm going with Lassiter's teammate, Javon Bullard. And I know I've been aboard the Tyler Nubin train, and I still like Tyler Nubin at the safety position. But the Texans seem to have a lot of interest in Bullard. They met with him at the Senior Bowl. They talked with them at the Combine. He's somebody that the Texans have been linked to throughout this draft process. So if the Texans end up taking Bullard at 42, I wouldn't be the most shocked because they have really liked this kid. He's a really good ball hawk, has great instincts, is a good guy that you want to have as like a center fielder on the back end of your secondary. I like Bullard for the Texans. They apparently love Bullard throughout the draft process, so I wouldn't be surprised to hear his name on day 2 going to the Houston Texans. Now, I have 5 more names to give you, but I couldn't do today's show if it wasn't for our amazing sponsors over at Game Time. Go right now, download the Game Time app, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Game Time, they are the #1 ticketing app I use. Where are my baseball fans at? This season is set to get underway, and if you're trying to catch a game, the easiest way to score last-second tickets is with our sponsor, Game Time. You can get great deals on last-second tickets and even see your seat view before you buy the tickets. All-in prices show you what you pay without hidden fees or expenses, and Game Time has zone deals. You pick the section, Game Time picks the seats for an average savings of 18%. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Next up, I'm going to the defensive line, the big boys. Kris Jenkins out of Michigan, somebody the Texans have met with, and I really think that he is a good option for the Houston Texans. I mean, I have a round 2 grade on Kris Jenkins, and there's other guys that I would like more than Jenkins at pick 42, but we could see a bevy of defensive tackles go off the board. If that's the case, I wouldn't mind Jenkins right there at pick 42 in round 2. Same with Maason Smith, defensive lineman out of LSU. Go Tigers. And he's another guy who I kind of fell in love with through the draft process. A bigger guy, has a lot of versatility, 6'6", 315 pounds, moves really well for that size. I mean, 27 tackles, 2.5 sacks for LSU last year. The only downside is he really only has 1 year where he started all the games. Last season, in 2022, he got injured in the very first game of the season, was out all that year. So Maason Smith could be a good option for the Texans at pick 42. They want a high upside guy on the defensive line. Now, somebody who they've been linked to a ton through the draft process is Mike Hall Jr., former teammate of our QB and savior, C.J. Stroud. Mike Hall, his numbers aren't going to jump off the page at you. And 6'2", 280, I know what you're thinking, very lean for a defensive tackle. Now, word is he has gained about 20 pounds and looks amazing still. Still ran one of the fastest 40 times out of every single defensive tackle in the 2024 NFL Draft. He's one of the youngest guys, too. I believe he's only 21 years old. So Michael Hall, still a young guy, still somebody who you can mold at the defensive tackle spot. The Texans really found a liking in Michael Hall throughout this draft process. And you would know that, wouldn't you, if you were subscribed to the channel? If you were one of the 13,341 people that subscribed here to Texans Today to get free Texans daily videos, I've been talking about Michael Hall for the past, month. So if you want to stay in the know, if you want all the latest details around the Texans, around the Texans draft, around the new jerseys coming out tomorrow, make sure you hit that sub button, turn on those notifications to the #1 Texans channel on YouTube, the fastest growing Texans channel on YouTube, Texans Today. Go down and hit that sub button or go to youtube.com/TexansTV and join the wave. Now, let's get into the next position group, linebacker. Edgerrin Cooper out of Texas A&M has been a very popular name for the Texans, and for good reason. He's an absolute beast of an athlete. 83 tackles, 8 sacks, 2 forced fumbles for the Fighting Aggies last year in College Station. Now, the only thing with Edgerrin Cooper for me is I really like him as a linebacker prospect, and don't call me crazy here, but Cooper reminds me of a sort of Micah Parsons-esque type player. I'm not saying he's going to be as good as Micah Parsons or that I think he will become Micah Parsons, but I think Cooper's a guy that you could see possibly get some edge snaps as well. I really like how he kind of translates to an edge rusher, maybe a blitzer at the next level. 83 tackles, 8 sacks. He's also an amazing guy to have as a quarterback spy. I mean, he is an absolute animal, an absolute athlete for your team at the linebacker position. Edgerrin Cooper, another guy the Texans could pick at pick 42. And I picked 10 guys, but Here's 10 more that I could still see some honorable mentions. Jer'Zhan Newton, Darius Robinson, and Braden Fisk, all guys who I really like. But I was going back and forth on whether or not they'd even make it to pick 42. Jer'Zhan Newton, Darius Robinson, both first-round talents. A lot of people think they might go in the first round. Braden Fisk, another guy who's been catching a lot of steam since the NFL Combine. Muhammad Kamara, somebody the Texans have brought in for a top 30 visit. Somebody that is very interesting, a smaller school guy, but a lot of teams are liking Kamara out of Colorado State. Andrew Phillips, another corner option from Kentucky. I could see them maybe surprising some people and going with Phillips. Also, 2 more safeties, Jaden Hicks, Tyler Nubin. I really like their skill sets. The only reason I picked Bullard over them is just honestly because the Texans, I've been hearing a lot more chatter around Bullard than I have around Hicks or Nubin. And then 2 offensive linemen, Kingsley Suamatai and Jordan Morgan. Both names I've heard around the Texans organization. I don't know if they go O-line at pick 42, but if they do, those are 2 names to consider. And then another guy, I really don't think they go running back. But Jonathan Brooks, if they were to go running back, is the best option. He's the best running back in this draft class, in my opinion, and in the opinion of a lot of draft experts. Could he be an option for the Texans at pick 42? I don't think so. I have heard other people say they would like Jonathan Brooks in round 2, but I put him on my honorable mentions list. And lastly, Payton Wilson, who, funny enough, the Texans literally just brought in for a visit this week. So, I mean, this close to the draft, you're bringing somebody in for a visit. That means you have a lot of interest in this kid. And he is regarded as one of the best linebackers in this draft class. I don't think a linebacker goes in round 1, but if they do, it very well could be Payton Wilson. I don't know if he even makes it to the Texans at pick 42 because, like I said, he is regarded as one of the best linebackers in this draft class. Killed it at the Combine, and you see the numbers right there from NC State. 138 tackles, 17.5 tackles for loss, 6 sacks, 3 interceptions last season. An absolute stud at the linebacker spot, and if we know anything, we know DeMeco Ryans loves him some linebackers. So Payton Wilson could be another option for the Texans at pick 42. That's all I have for you on today's video. If you made it to the end of the video, go down and spam those H's. H-Town, hold it down. Can't wait to see those new jerseys tomorrow. I'll keep you updated on the community tab and on our shorts page so you know everything going on with the new Texans jerseys. And we're only a couple days away from the NFL draft, so make sure you follow me on Twitter at Jeremy Chuggs for the latest Texans news and rumors. Hopping on some spaces with a couple other Texans content creators as well. So go ahead and follow us on Twitter. Maybe let's have some discourse over there on, or X, whatever you want to call it. Also, make sure you hit that sub button. I'm trying to get to 14,000 subscribers by the end of the week, by the end of the NFL draft. Help me make that possible. Go down and hit that sub button for daily Texans videos all year long.